All right, welcome to Violent Minds. I am Mark Chauppetta, your resident private dick, and sitting on top of my head is
Dr. Keith Ablow, a forensic psychiatrist, writer, the whole thing. Anything to do with a story has been the warp and weave of my existence. So narrative is my middle name.
Narrative is a very popular, there's all these what do you call them? These certain words now that are popular that people use. Just because the state of the world in the media and everyone tends to throw certain words out there and uses them all the time. Narrative is one of them.
Yes, well, right, because everything's a narrative, right? If you are able to master your own narrative, you can predict what chapters or select what chapters might come next for you in your life, the best ones. You can delve into the past chapters of your life story and look at the narrative. Man, what were the events that caused me pain? Did I skip over those? Because I don't want to skip over those. I want to understand them. They make me me. By the way, there's an issue with you this morning.
What's that?
There's a label still on the bottom of your coffee mug.
Label?
Yeah, hold up your coffee.
Oh, that?
Okay, like the price tag or a bar.
I never noticed that because I've never drank my coffee like this.
Yeah, but that's a thing. Like that's something to think about as to your own narrative, how that could escape your attention. You're a private investigator with a mug that still has the barcode label. Like
that's in case I want to return it.
Well, see, now we're into narrative. See, there, beautiful. Because then we would say, Mark, did you grow up with too little? Were you always second guessing? Were you made to second guess your decisions by your mom or dad? No.
And I noticed because
did you just have ADD?
I'm looking right now, and I guess the only way I would notice that there's a label under my mug is if I was drinking my coffee in a mirror.
What's the black mark? Was it discounted? There's some kind of Sharpie mark. Was it like 70% off? You went for it, or
I ordered it online.
Now your glasses are.
Look at right. I know. Look at
there. Those aren't pillows. Oh, that's very cute.
It's a famous line from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Mental note.
Anyhow, I'm sorry to call you out on that, and I know we have big things to talk about. It's like the Christmas. What are you calling this? The bloody Christmas special?
Right, bloody Christmas special, and we're not talking about that time of the month
because we're recording on Christmas
That
Day.
was kind of gross.
Christmas Eve day.
That went right over your head. What I just said.
What did you just say? Say it again. I wasn't listening to you.
If I say it again, I'm saying something pretty gross twice.
Okay. Well, I'll leave that to you.
We're not talking about, a certain time of the month.
Well, see, you always go
That's insensitive.
to the very edge.
Yes.
I try to pull you back. So having gone to the edge many times myself.
Speaking of narrative and speaking of books, if my life was a book, what would it be? Would it be a comic book? Would it be a how-to? Would it be what type of a book am I? Would it be an open book?
Well, I think if you wanted to be the most powerful person you could possibly be, you'd be an open book, right? To yourself, at least. There you go. Now, by the way, if you start to do that, people are going to wonder what's up with this guy. It could be a very intriguing quirk where people say, oh yeah, that private investigator who drinks his coffee like that. So yeah. But anyhow, you'd want to be an open book because anything you run from has the potential to defeat you. Anything that you turn and face cannot defeat you. It can only make you stronger.
Interesting. Well,
yes.
I mean, I'm a private eye. I'm not supposed to be an open book. So,
Well, you can be an open book to you, and it would only enhance your investigative power, which is already prodigious.
Thank you. Speaking of my powers, I'm looking to my right, and the viewing audience is left, I think. It's snowing out, so it's a little Christmas miracle we have going on today, leading into
Yes.
the eve of Christmas. And now you are Jewish, so do you celebrate Christmas also, or do you
Yes.
celebrate Hanukkah and light the, what's it called? The
I'm just going to let you flail around here for a second.
menorah.
The menorah. You got it.
But I do jujitsu, and one of our jujitsu holds is called a kimura. So I almost asked if you light the kimura. So I
And
had
I'm
to,
not
my
going to
brain.
light the menorah. We do light the menorah in my divorced household, right?
Okay.
I live separately because I'm divorced. If anyone's watching and wants to get in contact with me, they can do so through you, of course. But yes, in my home in my divorced house, yes, we do. I gave my kids Hanukkah presents this year, as well as the Christmas presents they will receive tomorrow.
Oh.
Growing up, it was mostly Hanukkah, but there were things under the fireplace. There were things in the fireplace on Christmas. We didn't have a tree. That was considered like, well, we're really, going to end up like the Goyim.
Right.
Yeah, but no, but I really resonate with the New Testament as well as the Old Testament. In some ways, more with the New Testament. And there's a lot about psychiatry that is very much in line with the teachings of Christ.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And not to, no, being, I don't know, I have an office partner who is Jewish, so.
So you've met a Jewish person.
So I've met.
Other than me, that's two.
Other than you, I have a Jewish person in my office, on the other side of my office, on the other side.
Yeah.
Of the computer. And now you, what, and not to sound ignorant, what are the you wear on your head there? What are those?
Yarmulke, yeah.
Yarmulke. All right. That Adam Sandler has a song about that. All right.
That's right. It's so good.
Yes. How do you put a yarmulke on a bald head? Glue?
You know what? They conform to the dome.
Do they?
I don't know what in ancient Israel, they had lots of guys who were bald. I'd like to think the powerful ones were, because, it is all due to testosterone nesting in your hair follicles. I'm so filled with it, like high test. Yeah. Like, when you fill your tank and you try to get it to $70 now, instead of $69.87, and it spills out, that's my testosterone level. So naturally I lost my hair. And but it turns out the kippah, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, I'm saying it like that because I really don't know how to pronounce it. But the kippah goes very nicely on the dome of your head. It's not going to move.
I don't know if it was like a plunger, you just kind of went and it just sucked like on there.
It just sits there. I mean, the other option actually would be, there's a double-sided tape that holds hair pieces on for men and women. You could use that. Okay. I wouldn't necessarily, but anyhow, back to
Christmas.
Jon Benet Ramsey.
Oh, we haven't even gone to it. So how are we going back?
I know. Well, we will go there. I know we're going to go there. So I was foreshadowing for the audience that we wouldn't just be banter today. Although banter's fun. I like the banter. It's good. I like it.
I love bantering. I think I'm a very good banterer. I want to wish everyone out there a Merry Christmas and or whatever you celebrate. Me personally, I grew up celebrating Christmas. I know Christmas not necessarily isn't a happy time of year for a lot of people. I think Christmas has been kind of manufactured, in the media, and I struggle at times just to be able to hyper focus just on my own family in Christmas, and I often find myself getting sad about the world around us and those that don't have as much at Christmas as I have or my kids have. Right. Child, Keith, you don't think of these things. When you're a child, you're protected by your parents and it's just Christmas. But when you're an adult and you see people suffering in the world, you struggle to, really embrace it. You try to embrace it within your own family, but I don't know. I dropped off a whole bag of toys, to give to a local charity. I try to
That was
do
very nice.
I try to do my part.
Yeah.
The
Well,
best
sure.
I can, or, reach out to someone maybe I haven't spoken with, who I know is less fortunate, and take them for a pizza or whatever. I try to do my part on top of what we do with our own family. So
For sure.
I think that's the struggle of being with being certain people are just so self-centered in their own world and just don't care about everyone else. I just have shit coming at me all the time.
Why is it that when you say that, I automatically think you're trying to tell me something about me? People who are self-focused, it must be Jewish guilt. I feel like he's trying to tell me I'm self-focused and in my own little world. To an extent, that might be true. But here's the real lesson of Christmas. For all of my friends who are Christian, and for the part of me that resonates so strongly with with Christ, dispensing the water to those who don't have it.
Body of Christ, amen.
You look like you're blowing the shofar also. Or
So
Rosh Hashanah.
what's the meaning of Christmas?
So the meaning, it's resurrection, right? So the unbelievable part of mankind as in his connection or her connection with God is that resurrection is the story of mankind. Your rebirth is assured, right? If you believe. And so you can be down, you can be out, but you're not. You can only be down, you can't be out. Right. That's the whole theory, by the way, of Pain to Power, my psychological self-help platform. Is, listen, the comeback is the iconic story of mankind, not just because of Rocky, who you love.
I was just thinking of that.
Rocky was just imitating Christ.
Yeah.
The guy gets nailed to a cross. Number one, he has the presence of mind, supersized, incredible Son of God, presence of mind to say, listen, the first insanity plea is issued from the cross. I used to testify on behalf of people who merited a finding of not guilty by reason of insanity. He says, listen, God, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Right? That's one of the prongs of the insanity defense. You have to know right from wrong and be able to conform your behavior to the requirements of the law to be convicted. Supposedly, they convict people anyhow, but you're supposed to. So he issues the first insanity plea. And then, by the way, he's resurrected after being killed. And so are we, again and again and again in our lives. It's like your marriages. You probably thought, no one's going to marry me again. I'm done. But look at you.
You know what? Honestly, I never really had that thought when I went through divorces. I always,
because you saw Rocky as many times as you did.
I would watch Rocky right after. Yeah, so I'm right now in my life, I'm on Rocky 3.
Rocky 3 is so good. Who's your Talia Shire? Speaking of Rocky 3.
Who's my Talia Shire?
Is it Rocky? I think it's Rocky 3 that she's on the beach with him. I love that scene.
Yeah.
That Rocky 3 or Rocky 2?
Rocky 3 is Clubber Lang.
Okay, so he's scared.
Yeah.
Right? They're on the beach. I hate to take you through this whole thing, but they're on the beach and he stops racing against Apollo Creed, and he stops mid-race on the beach, and he just walks to the shoreline. Yeah. He looks out at the ocean, and then Talia Shire comes to his side and she says, "What's wrong?" And he says, "Nothing." She says to him, "Look, we've got money, we've got fame, we just don't have the truth. What's the truth?" Right. And he says, "I'm scared, okay?" Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My whole life has been, picking myself off the ground and having that Rocky mentality. And I raise my kids that way. And that's, that's the only way to be. You get, and we actually have, one of the famous Rocky quotes in our home gym. I can't quote it exactly, but it's, it's about getting knocked down and getting back up in life. And,
So great.
That's what life's about. So let's well, first of all, those that enjoy this this show, whether you're watching it on DBNA television or you're watching it on our website violentminds.com and on YouTube, make sure you throw us a like and a follow. Make sure you check out Dr. Keith Ablow. He's a very spirited, interesting guy, and he gave me the gift of Christ and the gift of Christmas when he welcomed me into his life.
There you go.
In 2020.
And likewise.
Yeah, so I'm grateful for you in 2021. And
me for you.
Thank you. But Christmas isn't always something that is pleasant, and you always see something on the news, whether there's a house fire or whether there's just something tragic in someone's life during Christmas. And I know that happens every day in life, but I think one of the most famous Christmas tragedies, at least in modern day times or in the media, would be the beauty queen, and that is Jon Benet Ramsey. And we're going back, Keith, to this is 1996. Our children were,
19, is it really 19? Yeah, 1996, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I had 1996, I had a 3-year-old and 2 1-year-olds at that time.
Wow.
So,
wow.
So that was kind of earth-shattering news, back during that time, obviously, along with OJ and what was going on in the media. But Jon Benet Ramsey, she was a beauty queen. It's still an unsolved case, to this day.
It is.
I believe. And over the years with this case, now she went missing,
right.
Christmas night into the next day, the 26th, and they couldn't find her. She was missing. They searched her, and then eventually, a few hours later, they found her dead in the basement. Right.
Right. That's correct. Exactly right. They found her dead in the basement. And actually, I interviewed the fellow who confessed, seemingly spuriously, but confessed to killing her, John Mark Carr. When I had my talk show, we had him on. It was a big get, if you will. Yeah. Everybody wanted John Mark Carr. We got him for an interview, which was a fascinating interview, not so much for what he said on camera, but for what he said on camera when he didn't know he was on camera. Because New York is a one-party state. You can record people without their knowledge, as long as you know you're recording them. You can't just leave a bug somewhere. You've got to be in the room. And I was able to, regardless of whether he killed Jon Benet, which he didn't, I happened to say to him, or he seems not to have, I happened to say to him, so listen, just off the record, like not off the record though. I didn't say off the record, thank God. I said, listen, just between us here in this room, I wonder, how do you feel about people who are attracted to little girls? And this Southerner, as big as a small dandelion, said, well, you see little kids licking an ice cream cone. And, that has all kinds of artificial sweetener, fat, other things that aren't good for them. I'm better for them than an ice cream cone. And I get that on tape and we play it. Now, interestingly enough, the lawyer at Time Warner says, listen, he says that you gave him a glass of wine before the interview and we're going to pull it. I said, we didn't give him a glass of wine. We gave him grape juice. If he thought it was wine and was affected by it, that's his own business, right? We wanted him to feel relaxed. We poured him grape juice out of a wine bottle. Yeah, it's a true story. Really? And if he therefore felt a little less ready to withhold, okay, he wasn't as withholding. So then, we go back and forth all day long, right? Because I want to air this. Yeah. And it's instructive for people about how pedophiles think. Yeah. And so, right. And so it gets to be like 11:50, midnight's coming up. We're dancing with the lawyer for Time Warner all through the day and night with why we can't. And I finally said to him, listen, we have 10 minutes. Okay. so I'm going to no longer spare you the punchline. If you don't air this and he does something to a little girl, again, it's on you. There was silence for 8 seconds, which is a long time on a phone call. And then he said on speakerphone with my whole team there, air the damn thing.
Wow.
Right. It was so great. That was the best moment.
Was he ultimately, I mean, he's making certain admissions here, or he's talking about his desires, but he's not specifically admitting to any crime. So what ultimately ended up happening to him?
Well, he continued, as far as I understand, he continued his habit of being a vagabond around the United States and around the world as a teacher of little kids. Oh. So he had been in Thailand, he had been here, he had been there. And I think he continued on that path, no doubt with more, somewhat more supervision, probably by the wise, but who knows? And that's a cautionary tale.
Yeah, that's one of the creepiest things. And I struggle to work on child cases and child sex crimes myself as an investigator, because when they come into my office, I'm working on behalf of the accused,
right.
So I struggle. Those are some of the cases that I struggle with that often I'll turn down and won't even work on. I understand there's due process that goes along with things, but there's certain elements to cases that, it actually happened.
Okay.
And then there's certain people that are accused of certain sex crimes that
didn't happen.
That didn't happen, that legitimately.
No kidding.
But Jon Benet, so they find a ransom note. They initially, I guess there's two theories in this case. There's the family member theory. Then there's the intruder theory. They heavily went after the mom. They rung her through the ringer, because of the beauty queen, put a lot of spotlight on parents that have children competing in these pageants and what they need to go through, and the so-called abuse that goes with these, beauty pageants for young little kids. What do you think about that? Like those type of things,
Yeah. And, this was a larger than life case. It remains so. And the family being very, very wealthy or, wealthy, micromanaged the process. There was an older brother that some people thought, well, wait a second, did something happen? Because the ransom note, which was found with her body, which it seemed a little weird. Like people weren't sure. Well, wait a second, was this written by a member of the family? Where did this come from?
Only had the mom's prints on it. Only had law enforcement's prints on it. After they recovered it. So there was a lot of speculation there. A lot of speculation that maybe the mother, just slipped and killed her by accident. Unfortunately, those type of accidents do happen with parents and children. I can't see it going to that level, but.
Well, as to the beauty pageant thing, and this is not impugning anyone's reputation or suggesting that anyone in the family did this for sure, by any means. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But as to the beauty pageant thing, when you start using your child as a proxy for your own desire for winning, and when she turns into a little China doll, because this was a very beautiful little girl, but wearing lipstick, makeup, she looked like, she looked like one of those shrinky dinks that you shrink down, right? Like a 35-year-old that you shrunk.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so to this size, like literally a little kid.
So like a grown woman that was shrunk down.
I wonder about parents. I do. I have to say that, like parents who seek a lot of attention and awards, supposedly because their kids love it, when the kids can't possibly have orchestrated participation to that level, with all of the pressure that's involved. I wonder, well, what are you trying to do here? You're trying to do something for yourself, aren't you?
Right. But there's another side to that story, you know, I mean,
No, there isn't. No, I'm only kidding. Go on. Yeah.
meaning I guess that kind of could translate or cross over into, you know, into a dad that puts his kid into wrestling when he's 4. You know, do they really, you know, I mean, they probably put him into, like, I put my youngest son into wrestling when he was in kindergarten to, you know, to learn how to follow direction, to get some exercise and do certain things like that. And when I coached wrestling for little kids, it was more like gymboree as opposed to practice. It was fun,
Right.
games, and kids were interacting. But then I would take them to tournaments and meets, and I would see some of these Yahoo fathers that I knew from growing up in the sport that had little kids that were trying to get their kids to be, you know, an extension of them, and it was like, blows my mind. And then when my son decided he didn't want to wrestle anymore, then I took him out of wrestling, and then I stopped coaching.
Well, yeah, there you go. I mean, so that's the key. Now, it could have led to, if you were a whack job,
right,
it could have led to massive conflict where the kid says, I don't really want to do it. And you start, you know, leaning on the kid,
right,
and the kid loses his sense of self because he intuits my dad's love is tied to my pinning these guys on the ground.
right.
Now his heart's not in it, but so he loses his heart.
Did
Right,
Joan Benet do it? Did Joan Benet's mother put her daughter in it because she wanted to be, you know, a beauty pageant?
Sure. I mean, I'd have to assume that that's potentially the case. I felt the
6
same
years
way.
old. 6 years
Like
old when she was found dead.
And I felt the same way when my son was a good hockey player as a little kid, right? And so that was fun. I enjoyed that. And when he scored, I felt like I scored a little bit. I did,
yeah.
right? But when it came time to take the kids out of the country to like play in Iceland,
Yeah,
I'm like, we're not going. Like, because now we're in fantasy land.
right.
These kids aren't going pro. We're in Newburyport, for God's sake.
Right.
We're not going to the Olympics. They're better than the other kids in Newburyport or Salisbury. Shut up.
But you try to look past that, and you try to look at the lessons that they're learning. You know, I'm trying to put a positive spin.
Yeah, but I'm not going to Iceland because it's bad. It's like it's play acting. It invites fantasy. And the kid thinks I'm Rocky. No, you're not Rocky. It's okay. I love you anyhow, but you're just better than other kids in a small town. Relax.
So on this case that has gone on for 20 some odd years now, they had over, I think, 1,500 pieces of evidence, 21,000 tips, letters, emails. They interviewed thousands of people, and I would assume that, and I guess it's a cold case by the nature of the number of years that it's going on. I don't think I think it's Boulder, Colorado. I don't think that they have closed out this case yet, because actually the news is now reporting that there's some enhanced DNA tactics that they're trying to use. You know, as we go along, every so many years, you know, DNA changes, and you know, I'm thinking that they're going to try to possibly narrow this down, because there was some DNA that was found, you know, on her that was somewhat inconclusive. But for me as an investigator, I mean, this is something that I deal with. You know, I have a pretty well-known case, you know, Chris McCowan, my client that's serving 3 life sentences, murder on the Cape, it is called. If you want to Google it, audience, there's plenty of news stories on it. We've been featured on everything from Fox to 48 Hours, you know, so on and so forth. And every time, you know, it's probably a small, minute case compared to this. But every time we put something in the news or on the media, and I recently just did something on Fox Nation, then all the phone calls and all the tips and all the emails and all the people come forward that have potential exculpatory information. And it's overwhelming for me as the only investigator on this particular case, because I have to try to vet it and try to follow up on every lead that I have, and you know, try to determine if it's a solid lead or if it's not a solid lead. And in good conscience, when I investigate, I as crazy as something sounds, I try not to usually dismiss it. I at least try to look into it a little bit before I dismiss it. So I can imagine that this family has probably hired private investigators out there. I'm sure there's been a team that has been working alongside the local law enforcement, trying to solve this case. This is their little girl. Did it happen within? Did it happen without? You know, every theory right now points to that the family didn't have anything to do with it. You know, what do I think? I think maybe they did, you know, and I'm only basing that on me being a parent, that I would never allow something from the outside to come in and hurt my kids. You know, I know there's
although it happens, right? Like, you know, everyone thought when that other young woman disappeared and she was held by like the vagrant. Yeah. You know who I'm talking about, but I'm forgetting her name. Yeah. Sad, blonde. Yeah, and so everyone suspected, oh, it must be your dad, or dad's kind of strange. Yeah. But no, like someone came in the window at night and took this girl and then turned her into like a sex slave and disciple, if you quote unquote, a disciple of nothingness. Yeah. And had her shrouded in you know, a cloak or whatever, and she finally walked up to someone and said, I am blank. And they of course we don't know her name. I don't know her name, but in any case, so these things do happen. And you know, could they have hired the wrong landscaper, the wrong this, the wrong that, the wrong alarm guy? You never know. But part of the issue here is that you don't know, and so you include everybody, including the family members, the younger brother, the older brother, the mother, etc., just because until you can find who it is.
Well, early people of interest were, I believe, the housekeeper, because they were a wealthy family. This guy Bill McReynolds, who played Santa Claus. And you know, a lot of this, you know, they investigated a lot of people that were connected to the family, that had inside knowledge or inside access to the house, which makes sense. You have to cover all those bases. And there was, like I said, there was some trace evidence on the body. It was male DNA. Certain people feel that it was connected, and some people feel that it wasn't connected. And with the enhancement in DNA technology, maybe they'll be able to.
Let me ask you a question.
Bottom, yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, you can ask me whatever you want.
Anything? Why do you have that label? No, just kidding. On your cup, I was just joking. And so no, but here's the question: if let's say a horror unfolded in your family, comprised of an older son and a very little girl, and your son, because there was so much attention lavished on his sister, who was a beauty queen, and who was the apple of her mother's eye. It was a source of suffering for your son for years and years since that child was born, and born so special in some ways, and then groomed to be even more special and taken all over the country to compete. She's getting famous. I'm just left behind. And so if he killed your daughter, your son killed your daughter, would you turn him in?
Cover it up?
Would you turn him in or cover it up?
I would turn him in.
You would turn him in. So you have a lot of faith in the criminal justice system, because I guess you would say, look, he's not 18, but what if they try him as an adult, which is a strange thing to me. Like,
well, if it's murder and he's underage, he's going to be tried as a youthful offender. He's going to
not necessarily. Don't they try people as an adult a lot?
Yeah, what? Yeah, yeah, you're right. It wouldn't be
for heinous crimes
Yeah,
like
they
that?
would try. They would try him as an adult. Depends on the age.
Well, let's say he's 14 and
All right.
there's the possibility they're going to try him as an adult and send him to prison for life.
Yeah.
So you're still like, look,
I
here's
don't
the
know. I
thing.
just flew off the handle and said that. Let me think about it.
I'm not trying to
No, I'm
change the
curious.
verdict.
I mean, aren't I committing a crime if I know that my child,
Oh, absolutely.
I aiding and abetting, and there's a number of various crimes I'm committing as a
Oh,
parent.
absolutely.
If my child, tells me, makes these admissions to me, if the child is a minor, I'd probably want to get that child the help that the child needs, but then it kills your other child. Oh my God, man. I don't want to live with that in my life. That's crazy to even think of, but it's the plot of a lot of Hollywood movies.
Well, so for my,
What would you do?
I'm not involving the police.
No?
No, because I would say, look, here's the thing. What's that going to do? Consign him to hell for life inside a system that has no empathy, no help for him, the criminal justice system. I'm sorry, I'm not up for that. I hate what my kid did. It's unthinkable. It's just, my life is shattered, but I'm not going to let the criminal justice system further grind me into the ground. I'm going to homeschool my kid, which means he's not pretty much leaving the house. We're going to have 3 times a week psychotherapy. We're going to really, plan to very carefully monitor everything that goes on in his life for many years, as long as we can, possibly forever. Because here's the other thing, and then if we die as his parents, we hope we have done our job. And I hope he doesn't hurt anyone else. And at that point, I might reveal it to a guardian. I might say, listen, you are not going to have the usual rights of an adult. You're going to sign over your medical guardianship to your sister, brother, cousin, my brother, nephew, whatever. And you're not going to make medical decisions. You're going to be going for psychotherapy the rest of your life.
Well, this is coming from a doctor, first of all. And second of all, your 2 children are adults, so you're not going to have to worry about this. Maybe someday you'll have this situation with your grandchildren.
God forbid, yeah, but
and now this is on record. So
yeah, if I have this situation with my grandchildren, you'll never find me. I and my grandson will be in a cabin in Vermont, heated with a view, I hope.
Yeah.
Right. Where he will stay with me for as many years as I have left on the planet. And I will be trying to assure that by the time I leave the planet, he is not a threat to anyone. But I'm not caging him for life.
Do you feel that the Ramseys, who come from, who had power and wealth, in a smaller community, had the ability to, and would be the problem in your situation or anyone's situation, is as you're trying to cover up for your child for committing that crime, you're also trying to keep law enforcement, away, and you're trying to get them to sniff down a different trail, so they don't do your job and foil your plan of protecting your child. So, and maybe that's the case in Jon Benet, where they try to change the narrative, as you were talking about earlier, to something different. But I mean, that's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, because as you're trying to cover up for your child and treat them and hide them away, you have law enforcement, unless of course you have someone on the inside that's paying them off or directing them down.
Right. That's definitely true. And does sound like the beginning of a psychological thriller, but
yeah.
Pushed to the edge, and with a child's life, your second child, your only other child, in danger, is the way I would see it. And I wouldn't think that, oh, my 14-year-old is the bad seed. I would say we are sick. This family, we did something crazy, obviously, that turned our kid into a monster. I would be probably booking flights to Ireland. There's no extradition. I would be in a very beautiful little cottage. They're not that expensive, I'm told. And I would be raising my child there with homeschooling, etc. I might say, listen, there's a price to be paid for what happened. And that is, your life's never gonna be like normal, exactly, right? Because we're gonna use the medicines we need. We'll find someone who deals with aggression. I don't know. Here's the other question. I don't know if you kill your sister.
Yeah.
There's no data on whether you're ever going to hurt anyone else the rest of your life. Like, it's a very special situation.
You know, I've only hit a woman once in my life.
When was that?
That was my sister. And that
See?
that was when I was, I think I was a junior in high school or sophomore in high school. And my girlfriend at the time was a few years younger, and her parents moved to Florida, and I wanted my girlfriend to come live with us, and I couldn't get it out of my brain. And my sister was a bully. We're best friends now. She's 6 years older than me. We're best friends. She was a bully and mean to me, and
I'm sorry.
verbally abusive at times. She was
Awful. I'm sorry.
a little tiny thing. She's awesome. And she was just riding me. That's what siblings do. She was riding me to the point where I just snapped. And I gave her like just kind of like a little slap on the cheek, like nothing bad.
Yeah.
And my father saw it. And my father looked like Howard Cunningham. Now I could have kicked my dad's ass. I was a wrestler and tough, and my father was out of shape, but I respected my father. I remember my father chasing me up the stairs, like trying to throw haymakers at me. You son of a bitch, don't ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the first and the last time I ever laid my hands pretty much on anyone other than just professionally fighting. And what if I killed him? You think my father would have covered it up?
Well, I don't know. Would it have been welcomed, and you would have thought of it as well, Dad, you did the right thing. If you had called the police and said, my son just assaulted his sister, and she said he did, he hauled off and slapped me as hard as he could. Would that have been right or wrong if you had ended up in juvie because of an assault?
Different times back then. So this is the early 80s. The police would have showed up and told my parents to backhand me and lock me in my room for a month. All right. Right. And you know what? And that's all I needed back then. My father, all I needed was my father to be disappointed in me for me to realize what I had done wrong. And,
but if you had killed your sister, it would be a different situation.
I'm just talking about.
I know.
Mildly giving her a bitch slap because she was being a bitch. But in today's day, which I see in my caseload over and over and over again, the police if the police were called, then they have to bring someone in with them, and they would have arrested me. And then now I have a record that follows me, and I have a potential domestic violence on my record, and now that can dictate how my life goes forever. I wouldn't be a private eye right now and in law enforcement and licensed through the state police if back then my dad
probably true, right? Exactly. And especially if it weren't your hand, if you happened to be holding a hammer, you're building a doghouse, and she's like, your stupid girlfriend is not living with us. I'm telling our parents she's not living with us. And she's like, you're like, just shut up, please shut up. And then you just turn around and you throw the hammer as hard as you can. And she's dead.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's not funny, but
but is that in that situation, are you calling the police, or are you saying, you know what, write out a ransom note, put her body next to the furnace, let's make sure nobody goes in the furnace room, Mark, we're going to Ireland, get your things.
Right. Yeah, there's so many moving parts when something that violent, can happen, especially, with a family member. And I like your theory, which you were going down with the jealous brother. You know, because that,
Well, just a thought,
it is
more than a theory. Yeah.
right. It's a thought. There's a great movie on Netflix right now. I'm not going to give away the spoiler, but it's a Sandra Bullock movie, and it is called Unforgivable. Make sure you watch it. It has kind of a plot twist similar to what we've been talking about, but I'm not going to give it away.
Okay. Unforgivable.
Unforgivable on Netflix with Sandra Bullock. Yeah, it's
Got
really cool. We're going to wrap this show up in a second, but you hold on. I want to walk over here and get something that you may have saw on Facebook, and I want you to psychoanalyze me. 1 second.
Okay. I don't know if I saw it on Facebook. I don't think so. I feel so alone.
You're so alone, right?
I feel so alone.
So one of my,
Odd sitting here alone. Yeah.
Here come the police. I hear the sirens.
Excellent.
They're coming after me. So, you know, one of the things that, and I kind of psychoanalyze myself, like I think I really get affected by society, and sometimes it really brings me into a funk. You know, I have twin sons that have who have a sickness, and you know that's a monkey on my back at times. That, you know, obviously they're amazing, and they're going to be listening to this because they edit our show.
Right.
You know, but as a parent,
they are amazing. Yeah. So are you.
Thank you. As a parent, that weighs on me. You know, I just struggle with all the hatred and all the shit in the world and all that stuff. So that I internalize a lot of stuff. But
yeah,
one of my favorite things to do is to try to escape reality and go back into a simpler time in life. And that's what helps me cope with today's day in life.
Okay. This is very interesting. I like the whole run up here.
Yeah. So I watch a lot of old television shows, and, you know, just things from back in my life that connected me to a simpler time when my parents, who both died at a young age, were alive and all that. But one of my favorite things to do is collect toys. And I have a lot of pop culture collectible things. And I recently purchased this. You know what? And eBay is, oh my God, it's crack.
Yeah.
It's crack to people like me. Because you can find anything and everything on there. And it amazes me the shit that people have hoarded and held on to. I like old toys. When I don't have any of my old toys left when I was a kid, because guess what I did with my toys?
What?
I fucking played with them.
Oh, there you go.
I played with them until they were no good.
What you're supposed to do. Yeah.
And they were thrown out.
Okay.
So I bought this for myself. This is my Christmas present to myself. Did you see that online?
I did. A talking Mr. T
That?
doll.
Right.
Well, I like it for you. And I want to know,
Talks. Listen. You know what it said? Always listen to your parents, but the batteries in it are a little dead. 30.
So you bought it for its collectible value, because it might be worth more someday, or you just wanted to have it?
I bought it because I wanted to have it, because I can afford it, and because when I look at it, it makes me smile, kind of like my wife's breast.
Well, what? Why?
She just doesn't have a pull string on her.
Yeah, there you go. Why would it be that? Tell me what joy it gives you. In what way are you transported back to your younger self? What is it? What is it about the collectible that makes you feel, you know, I feel better now. I feel good that I have this.
You know what? I think the impulsiveness of wanting to get it feels better than actually getting it and having it.
Is it that it's a large, black man, and that you I just wonder if the man in the box, you know, is it something you've been keeping contained, if you will? Your desire, you feel better. You said, look, I really like having this. I was like, having what exactly?
Well, I like the packaging. I was a fan of Mr. T back from the Rocky movies.
Oh, I bet.
And from the
Sounds like you were a big fan.
Yeah, I just always thought he was.
No, I'm just making fun. I think it's a great thing. I think it's nice. It's a way that you touch down with a part of you that is part of your narrative, and you're not too shy to say, look, you know what? It's cool. I like having it. You know, for me, I think there was something about Speed Racer. Do I want a Speed Racer?
Love Speed Racer.
Oh, so cool.
Love that
right?
concept. Loved it.
I didn't have a brother, right? I had a sister. I have a sister, and that's a very nice relationship, but I didn't have a brother. And Racer X, right, who was Speed Racer's secret brother. Speed did not know that Racer X, who got him out of trouble all the time. I wanted that. I wanted Racer X. Right. I wanted to, I had bullies in school and all that. I wanted Racer X to come to the rescue every time. But so I get it. I get it. I don't know if I would necessarily want Racer X or Speed in my home now, but I understand.
Mine's not in my home, Doc. My wife made me take everything to my office. You know, I have a whole section over here of everything from, you know, Mork and Mindy dolls to $6 Million Man.
I think it's very nice. I'll tell you, my wife loved ex-wife. Ex-wife loved Trixie Belden as a kid, who was a solver of mysteries. Trixie Belden series, and we used to go and look at all these used bookstores and find Trixie Belden books, and she reassembled her collection, which, you know, I think gave her a sense of like, I'm glad to have this back in my life. Yeah, right. And I said to my wife, now that you're out of my life, Keith. No, just kidding. Right. I said, you know, to my wife, you know, be happy that I just buy that buying old toys is my hobby. And, you know, at least I'm not into hookers. But then again, hookers are probably cheaper than what I paid for this. How much did you pay? $200 on eBay for this. And I bet you, you know, lots of times the old toys, believe it or not, they'll still have the sticker on them, the price tag. Yeah. It's funny. Someone, so I put it on Facebook, and a buddy of mine sent me I'm gonna go get something. You put it on Facebook, and a buddy sent you what? A picture that comes out every Christmas of Mr. T in Santa Claus's outfit, and Nancy. Oh, that's great. Nancy Reagan is sitting on his lap back when she was the first lady, and he's actually handing her this because this toy, when I pulled the string, it said, listen to your parents. So this has like positive messages. So I assume Nancy Reagan was trying to push her narrative back then. Get a toy that someone gave me for this Christmas because I'm not, you know, not that big a toy guy, but this is my equivalent. Because like you have Mr. T, I have this guy. I love it. There you go. And he says he's got a lot on his chip. They say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm a smart person. So there you go. Merry Christmas, Mr. Trump. When we that's fun. We got to wrap this up. I know you have a meeting, and I have to do some last minute Christmas shopping. I want everyone to check out violentminds.com. Make sure you check out all of Dr. Keith Ablow's you know, things that he's into, which is a lot. He also mentioned 3 times on this show, which I'm analyzing him, that he mentioned it without mentioning it, that he's single. Oh yeah. I know, I'm still kind of wrapped up with my exes. So I've heard this from a couple women I spent dinner with. They're like, you're still like not free really. So anyhow, So, Doctor, you hang on for a second. As you know, I want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas. Thank you, sir. And you and yours. Hanukkah's over, so you can blow out the menorah. Indeed. On that note, let me put my glasses on so I know how to pause our show. And we'll talk to you soon.